The Sun have been sporting t-shirts with Jones' picture on them with the word CoverGirl and Easy Breezy Buckets as part of a campaign to help Jones win the league's Most Improved Player award this season. CoverGirl also happens to be Jones's nickname.
It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry, one white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another.
Breaking news just shook the entire WNBA, and it's the kind of scandal that could change everything forever. Cathy Engelbert, the league's very own commissioner, has just been cuffed up after Brionna Jones dropped bombshell evidence tying her to one of the dirtiest cover-ups in pro sports history, according to Briana. Now listen to this. Cathy didn't just sweep petty drama under the rug or bend a few roster rules. No, she went way deeper. She allegedly covered up Brittney Griner's biological truth, muzzled whistleblowers, and forced other WNBA stars to share the court under rules that, according to insiders, never should have even allowed it. And now, the so-called whispers have turned into hard testimony, and Engelbert is in the kind of legal trouble you can't finesse your way out of. But here's the part that has everyone's jaw on the floor. It wasn't only about shielding Griner. It was about straight-up sabotaging Brionna Jones. Think about it. If Griner never made her return, if Engelbert hadn't done everything possible to protect her image, then Briana Jones might have been the face of the WNBA today. Sure, Caitlin Clark has her shine, but Jones was primed to dominate, and instead, she got dragged into chaos she never signed up for. So how did we even get here? Let's run it back.
BG, this question is actually for you. What do you think about Bree's season so far? We feel like she's been
spectacular. I've been on the other side of guarding Bree. She's an amazing player. Getting to play with her, seeing her basketball IQ, in practice on the court, seeing things develop. She's always talking and I'm out, telling us different things, the bars, different things that she's seeing, and they're always right things. And then, what she does on the court, it's amazing.
This didn't start with handcuffs and headlines. It started the moment the league picked Griner over every other star. Flashback to 2022, when Griner got locked up in Russia, the league spiraled into full panic mode. She was their golden ticket, 6'9", dunking powerhouse, Olympic gold medalist, and a media magnet that brought all eyes on the WNBA. Protecting her wasn't just business, it became survival. Without Griner, the WNBA was exposed. No face, no storyline, no star who could carry the headlines. And while Cathy Engelbert scrambled behind the curtains trying to save the brand, the spotlight was wide open for someone else to claim. That's when Briana Jones stepped in and started snatching attention. She had already bagged Most Improved Player in 2021, then grabbed 6th Woman of the Year in 2022, putting up starter numbers even while coming off the bench. The Connecticut Sun knew exactly what they had, dropping a full-on CoverGirl-style campaign to showcase Briana as the league's next big thing. She was efficient, clutch, gritty, a silent assassin in the paint. With Griner out of the picture, Briana was quietly stacking a legacy that felt unstoppable until 2023 when disaster hit. A season-ending Achilles tear cut everything short. 1 minute left in the game, Briana collapsed, tears flowing as teammates carried her off the court. Just like that, her season was gone, and maybe even her rise. And that's when the switch flipped.
There's a lot of great players that get waived or cut from rosters, so I'm not worried at all. But we did evaluate that.
While Briana fought through rehab, Griner made her dramatic return, and suddenly the WNBA rewrote the script like Briana never even existed. To make it worse, the league didn't just bench her story. They shipped her off to Atlanta, sticking her on the same roster as the very player she had already surpassed. Now the media's pumping this fairy tale, dominant front court duo narrative like it's some Cinderella comeback, but let's be real, this ain't no fairy tale. Briana didn't team up with Griner, she was forced into her shadow. Atlanta's entire system is now built around Griner, from the coaching playbook to the media spotlight. And Briana? She's expected to play along, smile for the cameras, and settle for being backup to someone the league has protected with lies. Her career, reduced to the supporting cast in a story that was supposed to be hers. And let's be real, Griner always makes sure to praise Briana whenever the cameras are rolling. After a big matchup with the New York Liberty, Griner even hyped her up in front of the press, giving Briana her flowers right there on the mic. Sounds nice, right? But everybody knows that's just surface-level sugarcoating, because behind all the praise, the setup never felt clean. It's been suspicious from the jump. Griner's return was never just about basketball, it was about covering up something much bigger. The league knew about the rumors, the debates, the questions people have been whispering for years. Fans pointed at her voice, her frame, even the way Russian authorities treated her behind bars, and now leaked medical files are backing up what insiders have said in private for over a decade.
There's been a lot of discussion from the draft and onward about the vast disparity in pay between the WNBA and the NBA. So how do you think about changing the economics of the business so that there's more parity there? Like, how patient do the players have to be?
Yeah, I think, we try to do business of basketball sessions with the players every year to talk about how sports works from a revenue perspective and expense perspective. And this is my old life coming into handy. I'm a CPA licensed in 3 states. And, it's hard for players and the media and everybody to understand what we're building here, and that we had to raise that capital to deploy it against things like marketing and expanding the league and working with our broadcast partners and globalization and bringing more fans into the funnel and a digital transformation. So it's hard for them to understand on the face of it why we are where we are, but we're also only going into our 28th season. The men's sports leagues, most of three of the big 4 are over 100 years old, in the NBA, obviously in their 77th year. So they have a big head start on us, but we're trying to build something big here. We're trying to drive an economic model that's sustainable and that we're viewed as a legitimate sports media and entertainment growth property. I've been adding growth property in there. And ultimately, we're building a revenue model to sustain this league for many years. When I joined the league, I've been saying, we were like just surviving. And now we went from survive to thrive.
The truth, Brittney Griner wasn't born biologically female, and the one person who kept that truth buried was none other than Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. She allegedly blocked disclosures, silenced officials, and protected Griner's image at the expense of every other athlete in the league, including Brionna Jones, the player who had actually earned the spotlight. If Engelbert hadn't pulled strings and Briana hadn't been sidelined by this cover-up, we'd be watching her shine today as the true face of women's basketball. And now that Briana is finally breaking her silence, Cathy Engelbert is facing the fire. The wildest part? Engelbert just got arrested, and the WNBA barely blinked. No tearful tributes, no heartfelt goodbye posts, not even a simple thank you from the players. The silence says it all. The league knew exactly what was going on, and now the cover-up queen is standing alone. The league's reaction, or better yet, their lack of reaction, spoke volumes. Everyone just moved on like nothing had happened, and that silence was no accident. Cathy had already burned her bridges with the very women she was supposed to protect long before the Griner cover-up ever exploded. Let's rewind to the 2024 season when the internet was tearing Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese apart.
So I think it's really just the fans, her fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans that are like, they ride for her. And I respect that respectfully, but sometimes it's very disrespectful. I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't believe she stands on any of that. But when it comes to death threats, like I'm talking about people who come down to my address, follow me home, like it's come down to that. Multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me like naked, literally.
Really?
They have sent it to my family members. My family members are like, uncles are sending it to me like, are you naked on Instagram?
Caitlin was being smacked with racist dog whistles left and right, while Angel was being labeled everything from too aggressive to too ghetto just for showing confidence on the court. And here's the part nobody can forget. Angel herself went on record saying she was receiving ending threats from Caitlin's fans, assassination threats over basketball. At that moment, the entire league held its breath, waiting to see what Commissioner Cathy Engelbert would say. Because this wasn't just sports drama anymore. This was real hate spilling into dangerous territory. And what did Cathy do? She hopped on national TV and brushed it all off, calling it nothing more than a great rivalry, as if this was some feel-good basketball flashback. She literally compared it to Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird, smiling like this was the 80s all over again, while 2 young black women were being harassed with racial slurs and even threats to their lives. You can watch the clip yourself. During that CNBC interview, Engelbert turned an ugly, hateful situation into some fake nostalgia moment. The league's top leader reducing pain and harassment into a historic rivalry storyline, that wasn't just tone deaf, it was betrayal. Cathy didn't just lose fans in that moment, she lost the locker room. And that cut deep, because the WNBA isn't just any league. It was built by Black women, carried by Black women, and it's still standing today because of Black women.
Is someone supposed to score when this is what is being allowed to happen to Caitlin Clark on the regular? How the F is this defense? Is this the WNBA or NFL? Look, hold on now. NFL. What kind of defense is this?
So when players watch their commissioner downplay the very hate and racism that targets them more than anyone else, that wasn't just poor leadership, it was straight up betrayal. And Cathy's pattern of betrayal didn't stop there. She hit national TV stages bragging about how much money players supposedly make, throwing out this eye-popping figure of $700,000 a year. On the surface, it sounded amazing, like women's sports were finally cashing real checks. But watch the clip closely. During a segment hyping the league's growth, Engelbert avoided talking about average salaries. Instead, she dangled inflated numbers from the absolute top tier of stars. Seattle Storm's Gabby Williams wasn't having it. She hopped on social media to shut that narrative down, making it clear those numbers were misleading. Sure, a handful of names like Brittney Griner might scrape near that number, but only by stacking sponsorships, endorsements, overseas contracts, and brand campaigns on top of their league pay. For the average WNBA player, they're lucky if their base salary clears $70,000. That's a massive gap, and Cathy knew exactly what she was doing by twisting the truth for the cameras. And while all that smoke was swirling, the product on the court was falling apart too. Last season was chaos. Refs making some of the worst calls fans had ever seen, players getting shoved, knocked around, even injured with no real accountability. One frustrated fan summed it up perfectly in a viral breakdown. The WNBA was starting to feel less like basketball and more like the NFL.
And down it goes. And now we've got Brittney Griner going after Anigwe, and this could get ugly. Griner is being held back by numerous players and now trying to throw punches. Agler now is being pushed along the sideline on the press row. My goodness. It has been intense and chippy, and now still going after it and trying to be restrained was Anigwe.
You know, we talked about the easygoing attitude of Brittney Griner. She's had enough of it.
She went nose to nose with Kayla Davis, who now Davis is saying, all right, let's help calm things down.
This wasn't just sloppy officiating, it was downright dangerous. Even the Washington Post called it a growing threat to the sport. That's how bad things had gotten. And what did Cathy Engelbert do? Nothing. She didn't step in, didn't check the refs, didn't tighten a single rule. She just sat back like it wasn't her problem, letting the mess spiral out of control. And here's where it gets shady, because all this was happening while Brittney Griner was back on the floor. And let's be real, she's one of the most physical players in the WNBA. Bigger, stronger, moving different than nearly anyone else out there. But when she gets rough, the whistles magically disappear. The refs look the other way every single time. Take this heated matchup between the Mercury and the Wings. Griner went off, elbowing, shoving, and starting what looked like a full-on brawl straight out of WWE. Players tried to calm it down, but fans were stunned. One even commented, "What's going on here? This man has been exposed as being abusive and a male. Why is he still a player?" Now, harsh as it sounds, that frustration shows how deep the anger runs. People feel like Griner was untouchable, shielded by the league no matter the cost. And once again, Engelbert stayed silent. No public correction, no disciplinary moves, no accountability for the refs letting it slide. It looked like protecting Griner mattered more than protecting the rest of the league. And players were left to pay the price with their bodies. She didn't even give her players the basic right to feel safe on their own court. So when people say, nobody's gonna miss Engelbert, this is exactly why. And here's the piece most folks haven't been paying enough attention to. While all this chaos was spinning, Brionna Jones wasn't just sidelined. She was being pushed out of the spotlight completely. Her interviews canceled without warning. Media appearances she'd already been promised, gone with no explanation. Brand deals that were lined up They disappeared overnight. It was like the league didn't just want her quiet, they wanted her erased. But Briana refused to play along. She opened her mouth, she told her truth, and now Cathy's in handcuffs, caught in the middle of what's being called one of the biggest gender scandals professional sports has ever seen. But here's the twist. This isn't the end. Not even close. Because Briana didn't stop at Cathy Engelbert. She dropped names, and if what she's saying holds up, the next person to fall won't be a commissioner. It'll be someone way bigger, someone nobody thought would ever get exposed. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment with your thoughts, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so more people can see what's really going on. And don't forget, click one of the boxes on your screen right now to check out more stories just like this. See you on the next one.